Thank you to Sawtooth44 and Kyle Baker for donating to our Patreon. It means a lot to us, and I hope you enjoy the content we put out. On with the video. It's 10 PM. I'm shaking. My heart is racing. It must be time to talk about Halo. So, in case you missed it, Xbox just had their reveal, all their first-party games, and it wasn't as good as State of Play, if I'm gonna be honest. I think PlayStation just had a few more, original games to push out, a few more eye-catching ones, a few more to show how far technology has come. And it also had Demon's Souls. Unfortunately, Xbox did not have Elden Ring, much to Baz's dismay. But Xbox did have one thing to show us. One thing that I think just stole the show, and I'm almost a little mad that they put it first and not last. Halo Infinite, boys! So, we finally got gameplay. After 2 years of waiting, we finally got gameplay. Campaign gameplay, mind you, not multiplayer. We'll go into that in a bit. So, this is a largely unscripted video for anyone who couldn't tell, and because I just had to get this out. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go through all the information currently available to us about Halo Infinite, whether that comes from this teaser, whether it comes from the trailer that was put out, or whether it comes from extra articles like IGN. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into things. So it opens up with this space station and slowly making the Mjolnir armor. And just gonna say, this Mjolnir, I don't know what we're calling it, if it's gonna be Mark 7 or Mark 8, I have no clue. Looks fantastic. There's a lot of inspiration taken from the Halo anime and Forward Unto Dawn, with some mixtures of the Halo 3 version of Mark 6 thrown in. Looks absolutely stunning, mind you. Love it. Chef's kiss. Looks so much better than what we got in Halo 4, and definitely what we got in Halo 5. Black undersuits are back, baby. Following that, we're thrown right into action. We see Brohammer trying to pilot the Pelican through these anti-air turrets, and it doesn't fare too well. Pelican crashes, we're down on the ring, and the first thing we get is that the pilot isn't too happy with Chief. Clearly he wants to go home, wants nothing to do with what's happening, but Chief wants to take out the AA turrets. The dialogue it's not wordy, which is what I'm looking for. Chief feels more like Chief has felt in the Bungie era of games than he did in 343's era. Now, I'm not saying 343 wrote him badly, it's just it feels more true to the character we've grown up with, and even though it is just spouting out, exposition, let's take out these turrets, it feels like there's a bit of character behind it rather than just saying, oh, I feel like this. So, regardless, Chief needs to go take out those AA turrets. Meanwhile, Brohammer wants to look through some condors for a slip space drive so he can get away. But Chief says, nah, stay here. I'm going to take care of those AA turrets. My dog is barking outside, and I'm going to... Hold on. And so Chief sets out, and immediately the first thing I can tell you is just... Well, the Halo looks fantastic. It's caught that Halo CE vibe so well. And I know that 343 have been saying they want to make this a spiritual reboot. And, well, it's looking the part so far. It's giving me that old CE Pine Forest feel. It looks like the second mission. And there's also some moments of detail with all the rubble falling around from the UNSC spaceships, I would assume, which look vaguely reminiscent of Halo 4, especially the better missions of Halo 4. So here's something pretty interesting that's set up. It looks like the Banished are the major faction. And I said in the last video we have no proof they're the main faction. Guess we have proof now! And I don't know what this means for the Prometheans. I don't know what's happening, but frankly, I'm kind of happy. The Banished were such a good part of Halo Wars 2, and frankly, they're the best faction that have been set up since Halo 4. It's great, I'm glad they're here, and speaking of those aliens, we get to see the grunts almost immediately, and oh my god, they look fantastic. It's no longer the bug-eyed weird boys from Halo 5. We've gotten something that looks like a grunt. Also, we get to see wildlife a bit earlier, which again, speaking about that spiritual reboot, because Halo CE, if you didn't know, was originally meant to have wildlife on the ring, and now we can see it. And seeing the weapons in action, the assault rifle looks pretty much as it did in Reach, which is an interesting choice of assault rifle to bring back. In all honesty, I kind of liked how the assault rifle looked in 5, but I suppose if you're going to go pulling stuff back from previous games, Halo Reach's assault rifle is pretty iconic for its look, and I suppose it'll work pretty well for this game. There's also something of Corny might notice. This here is a grappling hook. It is your equipment slot, and next to it are grenades. We're going to touch upon this later when it actually starts getting into things. And then we see the Banished Phantom pass overhead, and it looks pretty much as it did in Halo Wars 2. The silhouette's close enough to a Phantom, but just slightly off. But anyway, it is Halo Wars 2's art style, and Halo Wars 2 art style is very good. so I'm happy with it. Something I'm not so happy about, admittedly, is Sprint is back, and there's so much complaints about Sprint, I don't think you need me to talk about it. But here we see the new Warthog, and I'm a lot happier with this model, to be honest. It has the Halo 4 turret. Not too happy about that, but I'm so happy that there isn't this really weird railing along the side. It just feels like a more clean Warthog. And as Chief gets in and drives around, we see an open world with location markers. This again goes more back to the CE routes where everything felt a bit more open. You could choose to go and complete objectives in different orders, like rescuing those Marines. But also you can see at the top here that it says upgrade. This is a little strange, don't you think? So I'm guessing this is going to be weapon upgrades. I don't know if it's going to be like, oh, increase Chief's shielding, increase Chief's speed. I really hope it's not that. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be weapon upgrades, and I'm not really sure what it could possibly mean. But if I were to hazard a guess, I would guess this is sort of almost the replacement for the Rex system. And by which I mean, with the Rex system, you could pull out parts of the assault rifle and unlock, like, I don't know, an assault rifle with different sights, or a DMR with kinetic rounds. But so I think this is going to be that you can find across the world, maybe new sights or upgrades for the barrel of the weapons, and using this you can either unlock them or unlock the ability to put them on, which might explain why it goes back to the Halo Reach assault rifle, because you can probably pull off the ammo counter and attach something on instead. But here's something I'm also far more interested in and far more happier about. It says database here. This here has to be a codex. Something I have desperately wanted in Halo since I first played Mass Effect, I guess, and I saw you could have that. Thank Christ, we're finally getting it. There was one in Halo Wars 2, it was very interesting, liked reading through it a lot, probably spent more time reading that than I should have. But it's going to be in Halo Infinite, which is great. Hopefully that means we're going to be looking at each individual rank and what the ranks of the Covenant mean, different weapons and how they were produced, just all that lore stuff that I really like and I know a lot of other people really like. Anyway, Chief keeps on driving, he gets out, he goes to fight some grunts, and there's something to note. These are Halo 5 armored grunts. This is, I forget the name for the grunt rank, but it's one of the heavy grunts. Maybe it is actually just heavy grunt as a rank. But he's actually carrying Halo 5's plasma pistol, which is not my favorite version of the plasma pistol. I think you can tell that it's Halo 5's because it's a lot more chunkier than the other versions of the plasma pistol. So so plasma pistol confirmed, I guess, but it's the chunky one. I'd much rather we go back to the Halo 3, Halo Reach one. But regardless, then Chief pulls out a new pistol called the Sidekick, and it's pretty underwhelming. Looks like it could have been in any other game, but the fact that it's called the Sidekick and the fact that it's got a very different serial number makes me believe that this might just be some other weapon and might not replace the Magnum. That's probably wishful thinking, and I would love the Magnum to return, but it's likely we're going to be stuck with the Sidekick, which is, it's whatever. Something I'm a bit more happier about is if you see in the distance here, that is most definitely a Halo Reach Grunt Ultra, which means Halo Reach's version of the Covenant is back. Well, I say Covenant, this is definitely the Banished, but we have seen in the Mega Blocks that the Halo Reach's Elite Ultras are coming back, which is some of the best armor for an Elite ever. Glad they're back. We don't see them in this teaser. I hope we see them soon enough, because oh boy, I want to see the Ultras again. Regardless, we can also see that the Needler is back, and speaking of the look of things, we get to see an Elite. And, oh, I'm so happy. Oh, you cannot believe how happy I am. So something I've never really been happy about is how the Elites have looked since 343 took over Halo. It's just, there's a lot to complain about them, and everyone has complained about them. The mandibles are weird, they look more like brutes, they're not to my liking, they don't fit what Elites are supposed to be. This looks like an Elite. This is very clearly Halo Infinite's interpretation of the standard miner harness instead of the really strange Storm harness. And I'm glad about that. It feels pretty close to Halo 2 Anniversary. The Elites are back, boys. But here's something new I noticed. The Elite is holding a gun called a Pulse Carbine, which seems to be another plasma rifle replacement. And I don't know how many I can go through with these boys. We had the plasma repeater in Reach, the Storm Rifle in 4 and 5, why can't we just get the Plasma Rifle back? The Plasma Rifle was fine, I don't know why there needed to be a replacement, but it's better than the Storm Rifle, that much I can say. This looks far less generic, looks more like something that the Covenant would be using. I'm okay with it. But something to note is some of the Halo Infinite sets do include the Plasma Repeater, which could mean the Plasma Repeater is coming back, but we'll hold out on that. Something to note is that there's a description underneath the gun when Chief goes to pick it up. It lists it as a certain class of what it shoots, which is a pretty neat addition, just clarifies really quickly what the gun is in case you've never seen it before. Don't know if that'll carry over to multiplayer, would be a little weird, but, you know, neat addition. Speaking of guns though, we get a new gun! The Commando Rifle. It's got a little serial number there, I don't care what it says, it's the Commando Rifle. And it's a little, it's not too generic, it's not as generic as the Sidekick. It definitely has that Halo feel to it, but I don't know. I don't know if I could see this being in Reach, for example. It's close enough, I suppose. It has a slower fire rate than the AR, but it has the range of the BR. It's interesting to use at least, and I can forgive it for that. But you know what definitely makes me so much more happier, and definitely fits far better aesthetically? Monkey! Brutes are back, boys, and the armor is a little different from what we've seen in Halo Wars 2. Still looks great. At least we can tell the difference between the ranks. Thank you, Halo 3. What were you doing? The Brutes also get their own drop pods. I always like seeing Covenant drop pods, UNSC drop pods. Drop pods are cool. So just to confirm, this left option down here is definitely a grenade selection because Chief throws out a plasma grenade. And following Chief throwing out this plasma grenade, the Brute berserks. And it's exactly what I wanted from Brute berserking. He berserks because his teammate has been killed, presumably, unless there's just a berserker class of Brute. And that means he also keeps all of his armor, which means he's harder to take down, and pretty quick, and jumps around a little to confuse you. It's so much better than the berserking of Halo 3, but I don't think it looks as ridiculous as the berserking of Halo 2. It's that perfect blend in between, which I want. And I'm happy we got the Brutes, to be honest. I've missed them so much. It's gonna feel a little strange, because the Banished are a Brute-controlled faction. Does that mean the Brutes are gonna be commanding around the Elites? And also, because the Brutes are back, spike grenades are back. They are gonna operate a little differently. We'll talk about it when we get to that. But there's a brief moment where you can see the prompt to pick up a fusion coil. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. But before that prompt, we see equipment. Chief picks up a drop wall, apparently, and replaces his grappling hook for it for a bit. And we'll see what that does in a minute, but something to point out, Chief definitely slides here, so there is a little bit of that advanced mobility, but thankfully it doesn't look as ridiculous as it was in Halo 5. It looks just bearable enough. It's just enough to get you out of the way of danger. So Chief puts down that drop wall, and it looks essentially just like the bubble shield, except it's a wall and you can shoot out of it. I prefer the bubble shield. I'm gonna be honest, I prefer the bubble shield, guys. But the fact that this is equipment is back. The best third gimmick for any Halo, you can fight me on that, is back. Pretty happy with that one. It's Halo 3 too. But speaking of equipment, Chief finally uses that grappling hook. He uses it to grab onto a Brute, pull himself forward, and punch it. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. This definitely replaces advanced mobility pretty well, especially due to the fact that it's equipment and there seems to be a bit of a reload time. Yeah, this is what I wanted. This is what I needed. This is what should have been in the game instead of thrusters and sprinting around in the first place. But this Brute that we can see here has some kind of new version of the concussion rifle, I guess. That's the closest thing I can relate it to. It's called the Ravager. It's a 3-round burst weapon and has a blade on the front of it that has been confirmed to increase melee damage. Not by much, but it's gonna hit harder than any other gun. Which is definitely, again, something I requested from Halo 3. Brutes have a lot of spiky weapons, they should do more melee damage. And they do here. Thank you for that. But it's a little bit of a weird weapon, which is... You know what? Happy about that. Definitely happy about that. Wasn't gonna complain at all. We needed weird weapons back, in my opinion, because a lot of weapons in Halo 5 were so much like... They were so focused on the killing time of stuff. The Storm Rifle and the Assault Rifle, barely a difference, it was just a different time of killing. This looks like it's a gimmick weapon. It's built for a utility purpose, which is what Halo's weapons should be. The Ravager looks a little weird to use, but that's exactly the point of it. I like it. So after killing that Brute, Chief takes the elevator up, and we look out onto the view of Halo, and some fantastic music swells. The music is, all throughout this, really good. I really love the music. It's a new composer. I don't have the name on me right now. I'll flash him up. This guy is replicating Marty O'Donnell pretty well. And I gotta talk about this. If you're not a lore boy, the words Palace of Pain probably don't mean much to you. So I'll educate you in the best way I can. The Palace of Pain was a Forerunner testing site which the Master Builder, which is just some Forerunner guy like the Didact, don't need to know about him just yet, I would guess. It's a place where he experimented on people and, unless I'm wrong, flood forms to look for a cure for the flood. And that over there, It looks like it could be the Palace of Pain. This is Zeta Halo, of course, which has a very rich history tied with the Flood. The Palace of Pain was there. The Palace of Pain tried to experiment on a Flood cure, which leads me to believe there could be a potential Flood presence in this game. You know when I said I was going to eat something in the last video? That was improv. That wasn't in the script. I just said it because I felt pretty certain. And with each passing day, I feel less and less certain. And now that this thing is there, and it's been in the cover art, it's here now, there seems to be a prominent focus on whatever this thing, I'm starting to wonder, is it the Palace of Pain? And if it is, the Flood are gonna come back, and I'm gonna have to eat something disgusting. Also in the distance, Destroyed Halo looks beautiful. I really like the look of this thing, and it's so nice to be on a Halo. I think the last time we were on a Halo was Halo 3? At least in first person, and not including any of the remake games. Yeah, it was Halo 3. Man, that's been over 10 years since we've stepped foot on a new Halo. That's insane. But here we are, boys. New Halo. Zeta Halo, most likely. Palace of Pain. Maybe the Flood. It keeps sinking in. Oh dear. Let's distract myself from the future pain by talking about the new Jackals. And by new Jackals, I mean old Jackals. These are Halo 3's, Halo Reach's, Bungie-era Jackals. I do prefer. I know a lot of people do like the new Jackals from Halo 4 and 5. I do too. But Bungie-era Jackals just feel so much less generic. And I like them. And you can see one here strolling around, just enjoying himself. And he doesn't have his shield up, which, you know what? Do like that. It means there's more of that interactivity, more of that reward for stealth kills. Because he's just walking around without any protection. If you get rid of him quickly, presumably, he has no chance. But you mess up your timing, that shield's gonna pop up, and you're gonna have a bit of a harder time. Like that new addition. Like that gameplay addition. Also, there's a few that have the CE really weird dome helmets on them, so that's a nice little touch. But speaking about gameplay additions, the grunts are flying! How the hell are they flying? Do they have jetpacks? No! You're gonna love this! Brutes, throw them! That is ridiculous, but I love it. How can you not love it? That means if a grunt that goes into like a kamikaze run gets near enough to a brute, it can pick it up and throw it at you. Absolutely magical. But now we get a better look at that pulse carbine, that new weapon for the Covenant. And it seems like it's essentially a response to that commando rifle, which makes me think that these things are filling in a spot between assault rifle and battle rifle. So maybe there's a chance the plasma rifle, or plasma repeater as I saw in the Megabox figures, is coming back. Don't know just yet, but regardless, this feels like some spot in between for plasma rifle and carbine. So we'll see where that goes, because we can definitely confirm that the assault rifle and battle rifle are back, so I guess commando rifle fits in the middle. We'll see if the pulse carbine does the same thing. Also, just an extra confirmation for all these colored guys, they're not Covenant or Created Allied. They're definitely banished. The elite screams die for the banished. These guys are banished units. And the banished bring in a whole new weapon, a brute weapon called the Mangler, which looks like it would be the new version of the Mauler, which I was very happy about, but instead it's just a brute revolver, which I'm also happy about, but I really want the Mauler back. This thing packs a heavy punch, and it seems to, and from what I've heard, it's a brute replacement for the sidekick. More damage, fire slower. I do like it. I do like brute weapons. They're always fun and interesting. As Chief moves up, we can see him use the Artemis feature from Halo 5 to identify the location of stuff, which is pretty handy if this is going to be an open world. He uses his grappling hook to get up, and then we see a shade turret in the distance, distinctly a banished shade turret, and Chief does something pretty interesting here. He uses his grappling hook to grab an item and throw it at the shade turret. Fantastic. This is exactly what I want. More environmental interactivity. And by that, I don't mean pushing buttons like Halo 4 and 5 at some points seem to really like. I want things that feel like a utility weapon, or, like, again, I'm talking about utility. But Halo 3 did this perfectly. It felt like you could use the environment to help you kill your enemies, or the environment was against you in some cases and you had to fight against it, like the giant turrets in Halo 3 were environmental things you'd have to shoot. It wasn't just a cutscene of like, bam, I hit the button, now it's gone. Or I walk towards it, now it's gone. You had to shoot it, and I really hope, seeing as Halo Infinite seems to have a focus on the environment and interactivity with the environment, that they keep that sort of stuff. But anyway, using the fusion coils, it seems like there's two kinds of fusion coils. One of them I would assume is explosives, and one of them I would guess is taking out shields, because when Chief throws this one at the shade turret, it only takes the shields out. Pretty interesting. So Chief takes out the guy inside of it, gets on the shade, and destroys everyone he's looking at. And after climbing out, he uses the Bulldog, which is another shotgun, but I've seen some articles that say it replaces the classic shotgun, and don't know about that. The classic shotgun was iconic. This thing looks a bit generic. The Covenant weapons, I think, look fine. So do the Banished weapons, but the new human weapons are just, I don't know, feel a little generic. If this thing is replacing the classic shotgun, I'll be upset. But if it's coexisting with it, like I really hope it is, I'll be happy to have two shotguns. Especially since this one has a drum mag that gives you a bit more ammo. You can very clearly say, like, oh, this is one version of the shotgun. You can get another version of the shotgun. I mean, Halo 5 did it with Rex. Why not do it here for the Halo Infinite campaign? And also, there's a brute carrying a shotgun, which goes back to Halo 2, where brutes just for some reason really liked human shotguns and used them. So I guess brutes can just pick up whatever weapons they want, presumably just the shotgun. We'll see what happens. But speaking of the brutes, we see the elites and brutes working together here, which is... I love it, I do like it. It's giving me Halo Reach vibes, which is peak Covenant for me. But it makes me wonder about the other species of the Covenant, like engineers or drones. I'd really like to see them back. So Chief gets inside the AA turret. It reminds me a lot of Atriox's little table in Halo Wars 2. I guess he goes to turn off the AA turret by hitting a button, which is... I mean, it works for the story here, but I really hope there's a little bit more to it than just that in the actual game, but who knows. Anyway, he hits a button, and we get the villain reveal. And I'm gonna say, right off the bat, I like this villain. He's a new brute with a weird name, and I'm probably gonna butcher this. Escharum? Escharum? I think it's probably going to be Escharum. It's not Hyperius, and if you don't know who Hyperius is, he's a brute character that was revealed through the Mega Bloks figurines that we think is carrying Locke's helmet on his shoulder. Which is going to be interesting, because I can't see Locke anywhere in these trailers. Is Locke dead? If Locke is dead, I'm actually not going to be happy with that. I hope that if Locke's going to die, he gets some kind of big, cool send-off. Even if he just gets stomped, sure. Don't kill him really quickly off screen. Or really quickly on screen. I want this guy to have some kind of fight. He deserves it. No character really deserves to go out like Julam Dama did. But that's enough about Locke and Hyperius. Let's talk about Escharum. Escharum. I don't know. I'll settle on it. No, I won't settle on it. I'll just go in between whenever I feel at the time. I don't know. I love this brute, dude. There's something about the fact that he's just... We very clearly get who his character is. And it's not what we're used to with the 343 era villains. He's definitely not Warden Eternal, he's definitely not Didact, and he's definitely not Cortana. He's just here to talk about how happy he is he's killed everyone. There's just paces of dialogue I love here. Like, he says, I wish I could tell you that it was a difficult fight, but it wasn't. And it feels like we're getting some kind of respect, but at the same time, some gleeful, evil gloating about his triumphs. It gives us so much about his character. He's so brute-like. I love it. Well, he's a brute, obviously. But it's more character than we got out of Didact, who was just, I don't like humans, and Warden Eternal, which was just simping for the blue GF. This guy has personality. And it's simple personality. It's not, I can't imagine we're going to get, like, 5 books worth of story for him. But for now, we understand who he is. And there's this little moment he says here, like, he just wants a challenge. And he says Chief is going to be his last challenge. He tells Chief to bare his fangs, start a fire in his heart. He wants that Spartan to be ready. He wants to fight Chief at his best. And I love it. There's this strange sportsmanship from the brute. He wants his fight. He wants a fair fight to say he beat Chief at his best. He has this respect for the Chief, and oh god, I love the idea of this old brute that just wants one last good fight. I've probably repeated myself a lot. Escharum, really like him. But he does say some very weird things, like talking about Atriox as if he's dead. Don't talk about Atriox as if he's dead. He's fine, I swear. We saw him on the Ark. Why would you think he's dead? I really hope Atriox hasn't just been killed off screen. It would be such a kick in the balls, especially considering how cool that character was. Everyone fell in love with Atriox. Just to say, oh, he's dead to advance the plot, that's almost worse than getting Julam Dama'd. Especially for something like Atriox. I'm really hoping that what's going on here is that Escharum, whatever, is in charge of the Reach fleet of Banished, because there are a Banished fleet at Reach, and he hasn't had word back from Atriox and assumes he's dead. And I feel like that's what's likely. We don't really get... I mean, unless he's from the Ark. And if he's from the Ark, then I guess Atriox is dead. And I don't want that. There's something to notice here. I've had a talk with a friend, and the first thing we said that we want from Halo Infinite is we want Infinity gone. Infinity, for us, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people, is a representation of the new Halo games, about 343's direction. And it just doesn't feel right. This ship just plows through Covenant ships like it's nothing. It doesn't ever feel like it's really under threat. It's introduced to us being under threat, but ever since then, it never feels like it. It just gets away with everything. If it's gone, it will make things so much more dire. And it'll mean there's far less Spartans, it'll mean there's far less cover and company we're gonna get. And we see all these Infinity-friendly signatures just disappear. And it's this really dire, like, setup of circumstances. And it does it so well. If Infinity is gone, I'm gonna be so happy. If it's just a case of Infinity is like, it's not dead, but it's wherever. You don't get access to Infinity. I'll still be happy. I just want it gone. Bring back the Shadow of Intent while you're at it. But you can also see in this hologram that that's the old Pelican. Delicious. Far prefer this to the Halo 5 Pelican. And there's some extra stuff. The ring is under banished control. There's something about an auditorium. Is Atriox dead? Who knows? And Escharamus Karam brings up something called Harbinger. Don't know if this is a faction name or a character name. No real answers on that. I presume right now it's a faction name. I think this is probably the name of the Created's army. No real clue on that. Don't take my word for it. That is entirely my hypothesis. But regardless, Escharamus Karam, he hypes us up. He's getting us ready for the battle, and Escharum is making me excited for Halo Infinite. He's egging me on to play this game to beat the hell out of him. He wants me to beat the hell out of him. He wants also probably to beat the hell out of me. We'll see how that goes. I wonder if that means there's going to be boss fights. I hope there is. If it's like Didact again, I'm gonna be upset. And that closes out the teaser. But we do also get a trailer. It's pretty much the same-ish stuff. It's just Escharum talking more about, you know, how cool he is, how much we suck, but he respects us. Really cool lines about how humanity calls us savior, the Covenant calls us demon, but the Banished call us prey. Really like that. Chief is always given these, like, really grandiose titles. The fact that the Banished are like, nah, we don't care, you're prey to us, really sets up the Banished as a cool faction. But it's never really stomping on us or making you feel small like Halo 5 did, because Escharum follows that up with his talk about hyping you up and, come on, let's have a fair fight. Far prefer that. We do get some new things, though, in this trailer. First of all, Energy Sword. Looking fantastic, looking like it just came from Halo 3. Officer Elites are back, which is a Reach armor. More Reach armors. I mean, yeah, they're in Halo 4 and 5. They look great here. I do like the Officer armor. Pretty cool. There's some kind of stasis grenade or equipment. I'm imagining it's equipment. There's no real way to tell. Holds an enemy in place while you can punch or shoot them. Wonder how that's going to work in multiplayer, because I'm almost certain something like that will be in multiplayer. We'll get onto multiplayer in a moment. And there we go. The battle rifle is back, baby, and it's the old battle rifle model. Fantastic! I do like the Halo 4, Halo 5 battle rifle, but nothing can beat that classic battle rifle. It looks so good, and I'm so happy that Infinite has its own take on it. Delicious. Something to note here is that we see the spike grenade in action. We see it a few times in the teaser, but here we get a better look at it. Chief sticks the Brute. The Brute also has a jump pack, so jump Brutes are back. Good. But when Chief hits the Brute with that spike grenade, it takes a bit of a while to explode. It feels like the old CE plasma grenade, which I think is just going to help separate the spike grenade and the plasma grenade even more. Plasma grenade, you stick someone, it's over and done with. The spike grenade, if it behaves like Halo 3, you can hit it into a wall, wait a bit, and then it's going to explode. It's going to be more like area denial than it is a sticky grenade. But that's really it. That's more of the trailers. There's a few other things to talk about, though, that we have information from Waypoint or IGN, so let's discuss that. So something that is confirmed is that the demo is set several hours into the campaign. And that's a little weird, because something that was written down is that we actually touch down on Halo and get access to the Halo open world several hours into the campaign, which makes me wonder, what the hell are we gonna be doing? If that's to be taken literally, and we get access to the open world several hours into the campaign, and it's not just this section of the open world, then holy Christ, what are we exploring? What are we going to be looking at? Are we going to be on the Infinity before it blows up or before it leaves? Are we going to be on Shadow of Intent even? We're not going to be on Shadow of Intent. Lower your expectation, Dans. Our tasks are gone. Are we going to be on a Banished ship? I'd love to be on a Banished ship. be pretty cool. No real answers on that. All we know is that this section is a few hours into the campaign. And 343 are dedicated to making a Halo game anyone can get into, with or without prior knowledge, which was the mistake of Halo 5 and pretty good for this to correct. You won't need to play Halo 5 or read Rise of Atriox to understand the Banished. It's going to explain it pretty well. What that does lead into is, why are they here? The Banished being the main antagonists makes me wonder where the hell the Prometheans are. There was a leak quite a while ago that I'm not sure if I believe, but now that a lot of the things that it did say are now 100% confirmed, I'm starting to look back on that. And this leak said that Prometheans are going to be in the game, but they're going to be these rare encounters. I presume maybe in the Palace of Pain, or just other really forerunnery locations. Not 100% sure about that, but there's no way they would just toss out, like, the created storyline in Cortana. They probably want to. I know all of us want to, but for the sake of, like, a coherent story, they have to continue with that in some means. And I can only assume that Harbinger is something to do with the created, and that the Banished have some kind of pact with them. But regardless, the area that was shown is only a tiny glimpse of what's to come. There will be other locations that are bigger than Halo 4 and 5 combined. That's interesting. Exploration is rewarded. It's not 100% confirmed, but it is apparently alluded to that with exploration you're going to find skulls and terminals or something along those lines, which is going to be really interesting to look for skulls and terminals in an open world. And you can also do any mission in whatever order, so you can come back and you'll unlock missions progressively, but you can go from location to location doing what you want and then come back and be like, I don't want to destroy these AA turrets right now, maybe I want to go, I don't know, shoot Hyperius. Or you can be like, I want to take out the AA turrets before I shoot Hyperius. But something that is definitely more interesting is that all the equipment and weapons you see will be carried over to multiplayer, but the equipment, like the grappling hook, you won't spawn with and you'll have to find on the map. Which basically means this is Halo 3 2. Equipment is back, boys. You gotta find on the map. It's gonna be presumably limited use or, like, timed use. It's what I was asking for. It's what I have been asking for since Halo Reach. Equipment needed to come back. It's coming back. Thank you. Thanks a lot. 343, thank you. And if you're interested in the tech stuff, this is all running on the new Slipspace engine, 10 times processing per pixel, 60 frames per second. There is something I will criticize, though, is that this doesn't really look like a next-gen game, and of course it's not because it has to run on the Xbox One, but it doesn't look, you know, as advanced as it could be. It doesn't bother me that much because my focus with Halo is definitely more gameplay and story. Graphics are nice to have if they're really cool, but if they're not up to snuff, whatever, I can live with it. I know a lot of people can't. That's down to you, man. You do you. I'm just fine with how things look, but something to take into account is Halos usually change from their E3 reveals. Like, this is, I guess, was supposed to be an E3 reveal, but we can't do that because of current conditions. So I presume things are going to change. Don't know how drastically they'll change from this reveal, but I think it's almost safe to say that the graphics will receive some kind of upgrade. If not, then I can live with it. It looks fine to me. Well, I say it looks fine. There's a few off things. I saw some things pop in. Escharam's face looks a little weird in... It looks better in motion, admittedly, but when you just see it in photos, it's a little strange. Another complaint I'll address is that people think this environment really isn't that interesting, that CE had more, like, you know, interesting locations to be in, and it's just, you know, very samey. I don't know if I can agree with you, boys. It opens up with this nice Requiem-inspired crash site. We go into that CE pine forest. Yeah, I'm not too sure about these banished buildings, but this is only one location in a wider Halo world. I don't know exactly why they chose to show this one off. It is a little strange, but I can't imagine this being representative of the full Halo. We'll see more. We don't even really see Forerunner locations that much. There's also these really weird hexagonal things, which I don't know. I don't know what they are. I think it's sort of similar to what happened in Halo Wars 2, where Professor Anders pretty much cut a section of the Halo off and threw it into space. Maybe that's like the section, I don't know, separate sections, who knows. Or it's a quarantine wall, and if it's a quarantine wall, then that means flood, and I don't want to have to eat something disgusting. 343 have said they plan to have Halo Infinite grow over time, which I would assume means expansions, and I really want story expansion. We've finally gotten a story expansion in Halo Wars 2. It was a very good story expansion. Give me story expansions for Halo Infinite. I want it so bad. You can do it. Something to also talk about, which caught me completely by surprise. It's on Steam, fellas. It's right there. The store page exists. So if you want to go get it on Steam, it's there. I don't know, what other things to say? There's a day and night cycle on the ring. It's open world. The open world Halo ring is apparently 7 hours into the game. Whatever. That's pretty much all the information I have collected. And it's a lot of information, I think. This Halo game feels so different yet so familiar in different ways. There's moments where I could see 343's era of Halo creeping in, like sliding and sprinting. But the combat, just like, when I look at it, it feels like an old Halo, especially the fact that we got equipment back. I really like that instead of all this ridiculous advanced mobility, we just got the grappling hook, and that feels like that would have been a Bungie choice, and yeah, very happy about that. I'm very happy with how Halo Infinite looks. Very excited, as you can probably tell with this just document of rambling. My faith in the game has been restored. I wasn't sure what they could pull off after Halo 5. Wasn't sure if the gameplay would ever really recover. But now that we're here and we can see what the gameplay is, it feels like almost a perfect blend of 343 and Bungie era games. You have something for the people who liked sprinting and sliding and all that stuff, and you have that old-fashioned utility-based combat, which us older fans have liked. And it's incredible because I have someone who swears down that Halo 5 is the best Halo, and he's so happy with what he can see in Halo Infinite. And I have friends, of course, that love the classic Halos, and they're happy to see what they're seeing. I can't believe that we've gotten both sides, at least from my collection of friends, that are looking at this gameplay and are loving it. I think that's incredible. I think good job 343 for managing to do that. The art style, fantastic. I really like that we've gotten a mixture, almost. We've gotten some of the Halo 5 armors. There's a toy for like the Warrior Elite, but we've gotten the Halo 2 minor armor back. The Elites look like Elites and not Brutes, which is pretty good because Brutes are back, and Brutes don't exactly look 100% like they looked in Halo Wars 2. But the fact that we do have Halo Infinite toys, and they have different armor, leads me to believe that there's going to be different classes of Brutes, and we're going to see those. The armor of the Brutes we have seen now, even though it looks like the Lego plating was, I'm almost certain, a thing in Halo 3. So I'm glad we got that back. It's very Brutey. Overall, a pretty good teaser, I would say. Looking forward to Halo Infinite. I haven't been this excited for Halo since, I think, Halo 4's initial reveal trailer, and I really hope, regardless of what your opinions are, that you're having a good day. I hope you had a good time watching it. Hope you had a good time watching this. Hope it answered any questions, and maybe you caught something here that you missed in the actual teaser. Hope I answered a few questions, and I hope that when the game comes out, you guys enjoy it. Really looking forward to it. Don't know what else to say. I'm not good at ending videos if you couldn't tell. Roll the music!